I am excited today about the podcast because our guest, and I can honestly say this, is one of my idols when it comes to recovery. Every time I'm feeling down or I feel like possibly relapsing, I think of this person and I think of what she has gone through, and it inspires me to stay sober. So welcome to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. I'm Randall Carlisle. My co-host is Nicole Slack, and our guest is the wonderful Beverly Martinez. How's that for an intro?
Wow. It's about
Did you know you're one of my idols?
I did not.
Okay.
So
Beverly has been on. We had you on initially. You said 5 years ago.
5 years ago, I was on,
and
still in treatment.
Yeah, you were still in treatment. You had quite a story to tell. And one of the reasons I want you on now is to talk about how well you're doing against the odds that you're facing. But maybe for somebody who doesn't know anything about your past, it would take a half hour to describe it, and that's all we have. But if you could just sort of summarize about getting busted for meth, facing federal charges, coming to Odyssey, how the whole thing unfolded for you.
So I was an addict and an alcoholic, super bad alcoholic for over 30 years. Lived quite the life. In 2018, I caught some federal charges, which I was facing quite a bit of prison time. I was in jail for quite a while, and Judge Pete gave me the opportunity to do treatment before I did prison. So I was supposed to have gone to treatment, then go do 15 years in prison, and then be done. So I went to Odyssey House in August of 2018. I did treatment for 8 months, and then I got accepted to the UAC program shortly before I was supposed to go do prison time.
And that's a program that does what?
That's a new federal program for convicted felons who are facing time. It's a 2-year program, and then you get different amounts of probation. So you can get 1 year probation, you can get 3 years, you can get 5 years probation, depending on your charges.
And you avoided prison time
yes.
Because of your success.
In Odyssey.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was at your graduation, and your federal judge was there as well.
Yes, he was.
And maybe one thing we should bring up that I think has a real bearing on what happened to your life was what happened years and years ago in California with the gang rape. And
yeah. When I was younger.
Yeah.
Oh, that was in New Mexico.
Or New Mexico. Okay.
Yes.
Same difference.
Was
California,
that when my
New
best friend died?
Yes.
Yes. So when I was around 15 years old, me and my best friend, I ran away from home. I started, I had a lot of abuse happen in early ages, so I ran away from home. Lived with my best friend. We went out partying with some guys to the mountains. We were both raped severely. She died. I didn't. That's when my addiction really took off. I couldn't grasp the fact that I was alive and she didn't live. My addiction took full force then.
Well, I didn't want to dwell on that, but everybody who does have addiction issues generally has some past trauma, and that's a pretty significant past trauma. And one more thing I want to bring up from the past for people who haven't seen is you notoriously being part of a biker gang in Salt Lake City, right?
Yes.
And we called you
Barbarian Bev on a bike.
Right. And there's a picture of riding a giant Harley with
fifth of whiskey in the bra with a Slurpee straw. That's how I rode every day.
Riding down the streets of Salt Lake.
In my miniskirt, in my boots, in snowstorms, with a bandana around my face. And God only knows how I didn't never get a DUI.
I would think a police officer seeing that might think
Right.
of stopping you, but
Well, you would think that, right? You're riding a Harley in a snowstorm in a miniskirt. You
So
have to
many
be
questions.
right. So, I mean, there's and sliding all over the place, totaled. And I always made it. I mean, that's why I always believe that I'm meant to be here. So, because I should not, I mean, in all reality, I should not be alive today.
can you,
Numerous things.
Nicole, you've had interactions with Beverly. Can you picture her doing that?
No.
It's,
Bev was my sober living manager. So she was the straight and narrow. So this is something else. But I do remember my first conversation with you and calling my daughter after and you were just chatting it up outside with everyone like you do. And so we were outside for just a second. And I can remember you saying like, I was an active addict for like 30 years, was it? Yeah. And I was like, so she did it for 30 years. I ruined my life in like 4.
Right.
So, wow.
So many, I mean, just so many years. And now that I've been in recovery, in June, I'll have 6 years clean and sober, which the sober part I want to emphasize because, I mean, I had to come to realize that if I don't stay sober, I'm not going to be clean. And I have to give that feedback to a lot of people all the time because, I mean, there's sobriety, because some people think, it'll be okay for me to go and have a few beers or, go to this party and, it'll be fine. You may be fine that time, but, the next time it'll probably be the weekend before you know it, you're getting some drugs and then you're not going to work on Monday and going from there. So that's where I had to realize that. And I have some very good people in my life that have given me that advice and I've taken it. I have some pretty wonderful people in my life.
yeah, you do.
Yes.
You do.
I mean,
Now, you have done so well, and you are, for a while, you were in charge of one of our sober living facilities, and you're a case manager now
yes.
at one of our residential facilities, and bang, something started happening to your body.
Yes.
Describe that.
So misactive, I was very super active.
And strong.
Very strong.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, my hands went numb. My feet started going numb. I had a couple surgeries. They were giving me tests, every kind of test you can possibly think of, from MRIs to, poking me everywhere to blood work. And then they took some spinal fluid and found out I have CIDP.
Which means what?
It's autoimmune, and it has eaten my nerves in my legs, which cause paralysis. So I went from super active to hardly being able to walk, to falling down the stairs, to falling in the shower, to falling outside, to my life just changed. And that was super hard. I think that was one of the hardest things in my recovery was to not be able to do things anymore. So I started to get super angry. I don't think I ever had the thought to use.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be like, well, screw this. I've done all this hard work and everything. I might as well just get high.
Right. Well, the high. A couple of times I thought, you know what? What happened to me? Like, was this all worth it? And so I had to get a therapist. Because at one point I thought, might as well. Even though, and I knew I was in a relapse cycle at that time because my actions were showing that. I was getting super angry. I was snapping at people. I didn't understand what happened. But then I had to reframe it. That's what Odyssey taught me, right? And I had to reframe it. Okay, I was doing way too much. And maybe this is a sign from God that, you need to slow down. Maybe you need a break from everything. Maybe you need to do things a little bit different. So I did that. And that brought me out of that thought process of, hey, you're going to destroy your life if you go out and use. Are you even going to get better? Because you're not. So I reframed it for a long time. And
That takes a lot of work.
it does. It takes a lot of energy to remain clean and sober. to try to figure out the best ways of trying to get places, the embarrassment, the resentment. I went through different phases of all that.
It's so unfair.
So unfair.
I saw it so differently from you. I want to word this correctly. I can remember people saying, like, when you're in recovery, something happens to you and then you relapse. And I was like, no, because I watched you go from walking. I mean, when I saw you, you were walking around, but not able to go up and down the stairs easily. And you were driving and then you couldn't drive. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, because Bev's going through it and she didn't relapse. So no, it's not. So for me, it was just like, no, you don't. Like, you go through things and you're fine. So I saw it as so easy, which I don't mean, I hope that's not hurtful.
Oh, no, not at all.
I was just like, no, you don't relapse because you go through something. Look at Bev.
That's why I call her my idol.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I think about that when I'm feeling sorry for myself. It's like, oh, well, now wait a minute,
Right. And that's where the important people in my life come in. Having the support. I have Michael Allbear, who has taught me how to grow and how to deal with a lot of situations, even though I was feeling the way I was feeling. She helped me through a lot of that, and I owe her, the most gratitude. I have a witchy woo boss that is so grounding, who has taught me to be in the moment and, to ask the universe for help. So my children, if it wasn't for these people, I have Greg Peterson, who is there to be my cheerleader, telling me, all the time that you can do this, it's going to be okay.
But it takes all that when you're facing a situation like yours. What's the prognosis, or what's the treatment and the prognosis for what you have?
So every 4 weeks, I have a nurse comes to my house. She puts an IV in me, and I get antibodies from plasma. So for 2 days, I have an IV running in me and getting my vitals taken in a chair, every 15 minutes. And then for 4 weeks, I just go on and do what I have to do. Every 3 to 6 months, I have to see the neurologist, and they just poke me around with all of these prongs and zap me and stuff to see if I've got any improvement. They can't believe I'm as active as I am right now. He wasn't expecting me to be able to walk as good as I do. I mean, I can't walk very far distances, but I can walk. That's the important part.
Wobbly, but
I have no balance.
Yeah.
So I went from, this gymnast person, being younger, to climbing trees and doing all this stuff. And now I walk like I just, 1-year-old learning how to walk. And I make the best of it. I dance a little bit. I hit a softball last Friday. I went a little early and I hit one. It didn't go very far, but I did it. Yeah. There's just little things, and I'm improving. And who is going to tell me that I'm never going to do something? Because I will. It takes willpower. It takes strength. It takes people in your life to be able to recover and to be strong again and to get healthy.
I think that's an important message for all of us. Especially in recovery, if we ever get in a relapse cycle, which I think probably happens to all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
All the time.
That you got to reach out, and because you could have, and some people do this, and I think that's why they have serious relapses is just isolate, just say screw it, like my body's failing me, I might as well just sit around and feel sorry for myself, get high, that kind of stuff. And I can see that kind of thinking.
Right, because it happened in the beginning. I went from being totally social to being antisocial because the embarrassment of going out and me falling down in front of people or, getting pushed in a wheelchair at events. I was starting to refuse, but that's where my family or my, the people in my life come in, because they're just like, it's okay, Bev, we'll put you in that wheelchair.
Not a big deal.
Right.
Right.
But you do isolate. It is a big difference. And it's hard, and it takes a lot of energy to push yourself to go out there. And like she said, she didn't see that in me, right? But that's what I was feeling.
You were definitely strong for us. We didn't see it.
Right. And we need that. And you guys made me strong, knowing that I was there for other people that needed me, that helped me get through it as well.
Did that influence you at all?
Beth?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that I have a strong personality. I don't think people see it a lot, but I have a strong personality, and I always felt like I had to hide it, and that part of me was like gone now. And Bev's not like that. Bev is very strong, and she's not cruel with her words, but she's firm. And I was like, okay, I can still be me. Like so many things about you have helped me.
Thank you.
You must have, over these years, you're influencing a ton of people too. What's your prognosis? I mean, and I hate to be insensitive, does this lead to death?
Well, I hope not. From when I first got it, they said it was going to cause whole body paralysis. So I don't feel a lot of my fingertips. They said it was going to spread. It's spreading up my legs and up my arms. I still move my fingers, and believe me, I'm going to get on that Harley here pretty soon.
Without the bottle between your...
Without the bottle, but I'm going to get on that Harley, and if I can't do it, then I know that there's different options. But so it's supposed to cause whole body paralysis. That's what the antibodies do. It's supposed to wake up the nerves that are dead in my legs. So we're in hopes of that. I believe that all of the other things that I do, because I do a lot of meditations, I eat different. I bought an exercise bike. I do stretches and all of those things. I believe that is going to change my mindset to get healthier, regardless if my nerves never wake up.
So you don't feel anything in your legs?
Oh, no.
Wow.
You can touch them. Yeah, my feet. So I only feel my heels in the back, and I don't feel anything all here. I can feel the sides of my knees. I can feel my thighs. So everything that I do is mainly the strength in my thighs. So I've learned to do somatic exercises to strengthen all that part because I don't feel that.
Do you think the fact that you are not just, I can't feel my legs, so I need to learn to not use my legs, the fact that you're like working and like keeping active and doing all these things, do you think that that's
Perhaps.
like keeping you, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like someone could take that and not just decide they don't have to move around anymore, and maybe you
Right. Right, because when they first told me that I had this, the neurologist said, we need to get you on disability. Let's start that process. And I said, I am not doing any of that. What will happen then? I'm going to get a check for, whoever knows how much, and I'm going to lay in a bed.
No, thank you.
And not doing any of that. I'm going to get up and I'm going to show the people, that I work with that things can be done.
Yeah.
What people tell you, it doesn't determine the rest of your life. You get up and you do things differently. This is just another way of getting through life, right? We get up, I get on that exercise bike, I stretch, I pray, and I go to work and I give that feedback and the advice that I can to change people's lives. In all reality, I'm changing my own. Everybody that I work with makes the difference in me having that willpower and that drive to have a better life.
Let me ask you, when you were at one of our, shall I say, difficult houses where you have a lot of people with serious issues, and you were sitting there talking to somebody, and I don't know whether they know what's going on with you or not, and you're listening to them, and it's like, well, my wife left me, so I got high, or some, and not that that's insignificant, because it's significant to the person
Right.
at the time, but stuff a lot less significant than what is going on with you. Does that frustrate you? I mean,
No.
Do you bring it up saying, hey, things can get a lot worse?
Right. And I do at some points, but everybody's trauma is different, right? Everybody, the smallest thing where I'm looking, you're absolutely right. I look at them and I'm saying, oh my gosh, that happened like 15 times, and that's nothing. I'll tell some what is going on. A lot of people don't even know. I mean, I walk along the wall. They have no idea why. They just think I'm being bossy. So I had to I had to tell a few people that this is what's happening to me. And they're like, what? We would have never known.
Right.
And you get up and do this. There's been times where I have to tell people because they just want to roll in a ball and wither away. And it's like, you know what? I don't feel good every day. Every day it takes everything I have to get up. And you know what? I do it. And I get here and then life is better. So get out of that bed. There's more to life than that. I get it. Cry if you must, but pick yourself back up and do something. Life is short.
Life is short. I'm curious what gives you show amazing inner strength to deal with everything you've dealt with in life. What gives you that? I would like to have the same strength you do. And I'm sure a lot of people watching or listening to this podcast would like to know how you're so strong.
I'm guessing that, today I look at it and my children give me that drive.
But you had something in you before.
Something God gave me that. It was something from a higher power that has me here on this earth, that gave me that strength. A lot of trauma that I've gone through. I had a trauma therapist, Karen Kelly, who told me everything that I went through was for me to be, because I was meant to be a survivor. It gave me the strength that I needed. That reframed all of that abuse and rapes and trauma and all of that. But what I have now is something higher than myself. I believe that. I'm so good at just reframing everything in my life. And it's been a lot.
It has.
A lot.
It has been a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it's because you said you're sort of a tough person as well, and maybe people are born that way. I think maybe people are born as maybe weaker or more submissive, and people that are born stronger.
Well, and I look at it. I look at my mother. My mother was a very, very strong woman. She wasn't an addict or nothing like that, but she was super, super strong. And I'm guessing my dad was too, but I just see the strength in my mother, and I've passed that down on to my children as well. I have some pretty strong daughters.
Yeah.
Including one who is a Muay Thai champion. She just got a gold medal in Thailand.
She could kick the crap out of you.
Very cool. Oh,
or
definitely.
Any of us. Me too. All three of us.
And then I look at her and the strength that she has. She's not a violent fighter. She's a very focused, non-violent fighter. She does it for the art of it. But I look at her and I see this warrior in her, but I see the different behaviors of each of my children, the strength that I've given them, even though I've caused the most trauma to them. And I just see the different strengths that they have gained from me. And it must be generational. We come from, must be the native. I don't know. It must be from the native warriors. Who knows?
Could be.
Yeah, it's come from our ancestors. I have no idea. And all of us were put on here for different reasons. And some of us dealt with more than others. And some of us survived and some don't.
Right.
And I am a survivor. I know that.
You told a story while we were sitting here before we turned on the cameras and everything about a lottery ticket. I found that interesting.
Yes. So I was sitting in jail. I had everybody calling to get me into treatment, and then Judge Pede, who I adore.
Who's a federal, for those of you watching around the world or country, he's a federal judge here in Utah.
Yes, and I adore him. I have the utmost gratitude for that man. But when he was allowing me to get out to go to Odyssey, he said, I want you to take this as winning the lottery. It is up to you what you do with the money. You can take it and you can just blow it and have nothing to show for it. Or you can spend that money gradually and have something to show for your life. And I've taken that advice the whole time. So I actually have a lottery ticket and my vision board. So, yeah.
Better than blowing it all at once.
Better than
right?
blowing it all. I spend that money gradually, even though I'm broke. But I spend that money gradually to have that good life, right? Because, I mean, in all reality, if we won the lottery, how would life be? But I did win the lottery that day. I got out and was able to go to Odyssey House.
Made a good investment, too.
Good investment, yes.
There are people, I suspect, I don't know, I don't know much about the demographics of people who watch or listen to this podcast, but I suspect it's people who, because they have loved ones in addiction, want to learn more about it. And I can see a parent or a brother or sister, husband, wife saying, how could I get my addicted loved one to look at life the same way Bev does?
Ask me that one more time.
Okay, if I'm dealing with an addicted loved one,
Right.
okay, let's say it's my wife, and my wife is in terrible shape, and I'd like her to be like you. What would be your advice to me on how we can get our addicted loved ones to show any kind of strength or success like you have?
Well, I guess, I mean, it would have to be the individual case. I would have to know that person, but I mean, support, getting them there. With me, I have to talk to a person. I have a gift from somewhere that just to get people to do things to better their lives. But I think support, I think allowing me and not enabling me. So that was a big part of me getting clean and sober was not everybody enabled me anymore, which happened most of my life. So, I mean, just be there for them. I don't know.
Well, if you had the answer to that, you could set up your own treatment
Right.
center.
Right. I would just
big
go and
question,
touch
yeah.
everyone, you were healed.
Yes.
I baptize you in the name of Bev.
Right.
Right.
Yes, Bev is here.
Yeah. What do you see for your future?
What I see for my future is having a wonderful relationship with my children, which I am working on right now.
Because you screwed it up pretty bad.
I screwed it up fully. I mean, my oldest just went off on her own at a very young age, lived with my mom, and then, became this company owner. With my second daughter, who's out there, Destiny, she's my healing daughter. So I really want to interact with her. She teaches me a lot about healing and how we can heal our bodies through breathing and grounding and those sorts of things. But she's going through it now. We're going through that trauma that I caused her right now. We're facing that head on in each day. And then my son, I need to gain a relationship with. We're very close. But there has been no personal interaction since, my recovery. And that's what I want to do. My youngest, there's going to be some work there, but and I live with her. But yeah, I want this amazing relationship with them. Even though they supported me, they love me, they've been there every step of the way. I want to really get to know them and them to really get to know me. And I want all the time in the world with my grandchildren because I'm on my 11th.
Wow.
Didn't redeem my
Grandma Bev
Grandma Gigi.
from biker.
Yeah. And they rode on the Harley with me. At 3 months old, I'd put them in my shirt. And they would go on the
Better
bike.
than a bottle of booze. But,
Right.
yes.
I would put him in there, and my granddaughter Raylynn, she rode on that tank. She had a little helmet, and she cruised everywhere with me on that Harley.
We are out of time. You are a true inspiration, a shining star. And I guess I would say to the people listening or watching, if you do have a loved one who's dealing with addiction, get them to at least listen or watch this podcast because you're a true inspiration. So it's great having you back again, Bev.
Thank you, Randall. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
And thank you for watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.